Today, we're digging into something really important, the state of pharmacy in Pakistan. Now, this is a noble profession for sure, but it's facing a deep, systemic crisis. You have thousands of brilliant graduates pouring into the field every year, only to find themselves stuck, underpaid, and trapped in a system that almost feels like it's designed to work against them. So, let's break down what's really going on here.
And this quote right here, it absolutely nails it. The problem isn't a shortage of scale or talent, not at all. It's a fundamental failure of leadership, of ethics, and of the very systems that are supposed to be supporting these professionals. So, picture this. You're a new pharmacist, you've just graduated, you're full of ideals and ready to make a difference. But the reality you step into, it's often a massive shock. That promise of a fulfilling career, it just collides head-on with a system that feels completely rigged. And you know, it's not just one thing, it's this messy, tangled web. You've got powerful political players, rules that nobody enforces, and people deliberately manipulating the market. This isn't some accident, it's a deep, structural problem that's hollowing out the profession from the inside.
To really get what's happening, you have to understand the central power struggle at play. It's really a battle for the soul of pharmacy itself, and it pits professional standards against some very powerful, business-first lobbies.
At the heart of this fight, you've got two major groups duking it out. On one side, there's the PPA, the Pakistan Pharmacists Association. Now, they're supposed to be the ones fighting for pharmacists, but often they're just paralyzed by their own internal business interests. And on the other side, you've got the PCDA. This is a super powerful lobby of business owners, most of whom aren't even pharmacists, and their main goal is to block any policy that would actually empower qualified professionals. So you see the conflict, right? The very group that should protect the profession is often powerless against the group that profits from its weakness.
And the consequences of this? Oh, they are just devastating. You see low-quality pharmacy schools popping up left and right, basically just to cash in on tuition fees. You have this safe culture, that old-school profit-above-all-else mindset, where owners will hire cheaper, unqualified people instead of a real pharmacist. And then there's this, which is just wild. Pharmacist licenses are literally rented out just to make a store look legal, but the actual pharmacist is nowhere in sight. The bottom line is the professional role of the pharmacist is being completely cannibalized.
Okay, so let's talk about the legal side of things, because, there are laws on the books designed to stop all this from happening, but they're pretty much systematically ignored.
Let's take Schedule G drugs as a perfect example. We're talking about controlled substances here, narcotics, really potent medications. And the law, the Drug Act of 1976, is crystal clear. These can only be sold under the supervision of a registered pharmacist. It's a basic rule for public safety.
But what happens in the real world? Yeah, that law is almost never enforced. These incredibly powerful drugs are sold all the time in so-called medical stores with absolutely no qualified person in sight. This one point tells you everything you need to know about how deep the systemic failure really runs. The rules are there, but the will to enforce them against powerful business interests, it's just gone.
And look, the pressure isn't just coming from the retail side. There's a ton of resistance from within the healthcare system, too. You have healthcare commissions that tend to side with medical lobbies, doctors who might resist having pharmacists in leadership roles, and hospitals that will just hire unqualified staff to cut costs. It's like they're fighting a battle on every single front.
So let's talk about the price of all this. Because behind all the politics and the broken rules, there's a very, very real human cost. And it's being paid by the pharmacists themselves.
For a young graduate, this is what the landscape looks like. We're talking depressingly low salaries, a job market that's totally saturated, and the slow erosion of your professional identity. All those ideals you had in school, they crash right into a wall of industry corruption. It's a reality shock that is just incredibly demoralizing.
And you might be wondering, well, why doesn't anyone speak up? There's a reason for that. There's a culture of silence and coercion. If you advocate for reform, if you rock the boat, you risk losing your job, getting threats, or even being blacklisted. The system is actually designed to punish the very people who try to fix it.
But this explainer isn't just about despair. It's about getting clarity and finding a strategy. So, now that we see the problem clearly, how do you fight back? Well, there's a path forward.
The source material lays out a really smart four-part strategy. First, you have to understand the terrain, know the players, the history, the power dynamics. Second, build strong networks with peers who think like you, both at home and around the world. Third, get behind the real reform efforts. And fourth, and this one is key, play a dual game. Get your local experience, but always be preparing yourself for global opportunities. It's all about building resilience and creating your own options.
And this brings us to the final and maybe the most important idea here. It's about shifting your mindset from one of silence and just trying to survive to one of proactive, strategic leadership.
So here's the twist. While this environment is incredibly challenging, it can also be a forge. The pharmacists who learn to navigate this broken system with their integrity intact don't just survive. They become these incredibly resourceful, courageous, and globally competitive leaders. The struggle itself can become your greatest strength.
And that leaves us with one final thought. The system, as we've seen, has zero incentive to change itself. Real change starts with individuals, with people who choose strategy over silence and integrity over compromise. So the question isn't if the system will change. The real question is, how will you lead by example?